Just like the sun rises every morning, it sets every evening. The moon rises in the evening and sets in the morning. During some periods of the month, it is absolutely dark at night. In some periods, you have a little light, and in some periods, it's totally bright, full light. The same thing with nature, seasons. They have a cycle of winter, summer, rains, autumn, spring. Trees follow a cycle. The sapling grows, fruits come up, fruits ripen up, and then they fall down on other earth. So everything in nature has a cycle. In a similar fashion, humankind, mankind also has an inbuilt cycle which, if it follows that pattern, it will be happy, it will be comfortable, it will be beautiful. And if you do not follow that pattern and defy it or go against it, go against the law of nature, the contrary to happiness will be in for us. It is in this context that I said, let us talk about the cycles of life, how they are applicable to humankind, to mankind, to men, women, children, adolescents, grown-ups, old people. And I came across this mysterious number of 7. Numerologically, number 7 is supposed to be a very mystic number. It has hidden powers, it has hidden meanings. Which is why we have 7 heavens. We have 7 wonders of the world. We have 7 universes. We have many other things related to 7.
7 days of the week.
7 days of a week. Yeah. That's the first one. You have 7 days of a week. You have 7 heavens. You have 7 notes in music. Both in Western music and in Indian music, where you have sa, re, ga, ma, pa, na, ni, sa. You have the Saptarishis, which are the 7 stars, and also the name of the 7 rishis in our scriptures. When you wed in India, you take 7 fairas. So sacrosanct it is. Your body, it has 7 chakras. And those chakras have 7 colors, which are the colors of the rainbow. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. It's not only in Hinduism but in other religions also. 7 is very significant. For example, in Islam, the circumambulation of the Kabbalah is carried out how many times?
7 times.
7 times. The number of celestial objects visible to the naked eye from the earth, they are mentioned over here: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. You have 7 seas. Sat Samundar is a kahavat in Hindi. Sat Samundar Par. You also have 7 directions. Left, right. Someone read out?
Yeah, left, right, up, down, forward, back, and center.
7 directions. And a very significant thing about the number 7 has been said by a person whom I greatly admire, whom the world admires. Who am I talking about? Mahatma Gandhi. And what did he say? These are the 7 blunders of humankind. If you stay away from these blunders, mankind, nations, countries, society will be happy. But if you commit these blunders, we are doomed. And when I read these one by one, you will see that if in today's time, what we call Kali Yuga, we are suffering, it is because we do not adhere to these 7 beautiful things which Mahatma Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi said. The first which he said is wealth without work. Today is the age when people want to easy money gathering. काम मत करो, do not work. इसकी जेब से take के how to put it in my pocket without working. Fair means foul means no work, just transfer. Hook or crook. Pleasure without conscience. How can I enjoy myself? How my conscience can employ if I am happy by causing suffering to another? Pleasure without conscience. It's a great sin.
Knowledge without character.
Knowledge without character.
Self-explanatory. If there is knowledge to make a bomb so that you can carve out of hills some dam or make a road, that same bomb you use for killing mankind.
Commerce without morality.
Ethics. That's why we say business ethics. Gradually, we are diluting our ethics in business. And according to me personally, one of the greatest reasons is by leaders without vision laying down targets for their subordinates without realizing that ethics are being adhered to or not. Growth is very good, but to lay unreasonable targets to achieve which everybody follows unethical methods.
Science without humanity. Atom bomb.
Absolutely. Complete destruction of mankind. Blowing up people, killing people, atom bombs and what have you. Religion without sacrifice. Sacrifice of what? Sacrificing of your ego. Sacrificing of hatred. Sacrificing of togetherness. Sacrificing of harmony. When you sacrifice all this and still say I am religion, it's the worst disservice you can do to your religion and to the God you believe in. Only that religion is good which helps you become a better human being. Some years ago, there was a world conference of all religious leaders held in Europe. The bishop was there, the pope was there, the imams were there, mullahs were there, everybody was there. So were Buddhist teachers. And when after the 3 days convention, the proceedings were over, somebody went to X religion and asked which religion is best. That man said, my religion is best because A, B, C, D, E. The other religious teacher said, no, my religion is best because of this, this, this. And then the reporter, the interviewing people went to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and asked him, tell us, you are a Buddhist, which religion is best? And he gave the most beautiful answer. That religion is best which helps you become a better human being. Follow that.
Politics without principle. Everyday example.
Politics without principle. Every day happening in your daily lives. No wonder some famous leader, philosopher, thinker said politics is the last refuge of scoundrels. It's happening the world over.
Yes.
And imagine you and me choose by voting whom to be enslaved by. Virtually we are doing that. Ki I accept to be enslaved by party A or by person B. Which is why Mahatma Gandhi never joined any political party. He raised a movement. And since it had to be given a label, it was given a label for a short time. After that, he was off it. So I urge all listeners, look at these 7 points. Carefully meditate on them. Ponder on them. Apply it in your own lives. And urge others whom you know to apply these points in their lives. I can assure you, the world will be a very beautiful place. It will be paradise. Paradise and heaven are not elsewhere. Paradise is here, in the now, in the present. And we, by not adhering to these things, make and bring hell unto ourselves here. A couple of weeks ago, I traveled to a very beautiful place in Chhattisgarh. It's called Bastar. I'm sure some of you have heard it. It's a tribal area. It's a forested area. People call it underdeveloped. People call it uncivilized. I call it one of the most civilized and developed places in the world. And I'll tell you why. Have a look at this picture. In this beautiful place called Bastar, they follow a very simple system where when children who are growing up reach the age of puberty as some people pronounce it, they leave their homes and go and stay secluded away from the village. Girls and boys, that means roughly 13, 14 onwards till about 20, 21, stay in dormitories which can be mixed up. It's not that this is a boys' dormitory and this is a girls' dormitory. And they freely mix up and mingle with each other in a very beautiful way, doing their works in the morning, celebrating in the evening. Sex is allowed. Pardon me. It's not considered a taboo. Sex is a part of your growth in these years. Even science says, by 14, nature has given to you the ability to have sex. Why not have it? But what has society done? Society says that no, you should not have sex in these years, which is why there is one thing I always wish to comment upon our ancient tradition of brahmacharya, which says in this period, stay away from sex. You are defying nature. As far as nature is concerned, from 14 to about 21, it has finished its work with you and given you all that it could give to a girl or a boy or a man and woman to live in this world. And the very first thing, the very basic thing, love, of which you were born, you and me are all, is being denied. Let me tell you, at about 17, 18, a boy is at his sexual best. After that, the omega, the zenith, is no longer there in life. It starts receding. And when you are at your optimal level to enjoy a thing, to live a thing, I think society is very cruel to deny us this. We need a change in thinking.
True.
And these ghotuls are so beautiful. There has never been a rape here. There has never been a fight in them. There is never any enmity between man and woman. And it's not that you stay stuck to one partner. You can mingle around freely with whomever you like or whoever likes you. So there is no question of molestation. There is no question of rape. And since they live in this atmosphere and grow up later in life, even when you are grown up and come out of this age, there is no rape, there is no molestation, there is no fighting, there is no enmity. They follow the very beautiful principle that life is just meant to celebrate. Here is the picture of girls and boys together in their evening best, celebrating, dancing, making music. And others are not allowed there to interfere and spoil them. They have their own world. A similar beautiful system also exists in another part of East India. It's called Mizoram. When I was there in the 70s, there was hardly any electricity there. There used to be lanterns, there used to be some Petromaxes with affluent people. Otherwise, most of the houses would have that diya bati, small little debris type of a thing where they would light the oil with. And in this beautiful place called Mizoram, there was a custom that after you finished your day's work in the evening, all the young boys, all the young girls, they would go out to meet each other. The boy would go to the girl's place and they would say, if you ask them, what are you going for? There was a beautiful sentence, 2 words, Nula Rem. I'm going to, Nula is a girl, Rem, to be with her, to enjoy with her. And the parents of the house also looked at it in a very healthy way. Mixing was allowed. They would carry their guitars, which is called a ting tong. They would play music, try and woo their partner. And you could go to anybody's house. You could go singly, you could go in groups.
Yeah.
Such was the beautiful system, because of which in Mizoram also there was never any case of rape, never any case of molestation. I have never seen a Mizo scold a child, a toddler. Never get angry. Such a healthy way of growing up. And the greatest abuse in Mizoram, if I wanted to abuse X or Y wanted to be abusive to Z, he would call him or her a monkey. There is no word beyond that. That's the ultimate if you have done it.
Okay.
Such a beautiful society. Here are some pictures of Mizoram. Lovely girls and boys doing the chero dance during celebrations. There's another picture I have, very colorful, very beautiful.
This is also from Mizoram.
No, this is from Africa,
Acha, Africa.
but this is from the other end of the spectrum. The dress is very colorful, but it hides behind this color image a most obnoxious practice which is called female genital mutilation. And the people make a ceremony out of it. Girls as young as 5, in a ritual in the villages, their genitals are cut off with very rustic instruments. And it doesn't happen only in Africa, it is there worldwide in over 129 countries in one form or the other.
So much.
130 million to the last record have undergone this torturous method. Sometimes individually, sometimes they are put in a line. Isn't this playing against nature? Girls as young as 5. And it is to control their sexual urge that this is done. Can there be more horrendous a thing? Can there, society, I told you na, society. Can there be a more horrendous act than this? Look at the pain on this child and look at the blade that is being done. This is the blood flowing out, actually from where it was carried out. So if you listen to nature and its cycles which it has set for you, you will have a happy life. Your children will have a happy life. When they grow up, they will grow up to beautiful citizens with clear, clean, beautiful, happy, loving minds. And if you defy nature and play with its cycle in an adverse manner, obviously your growth is bound to be kinky, bound to be disturbed. You will grow up as an incomplete human being. At the other end of the spectrum, we were talking about children. Out of not listening to nature and its beautiful cycles, कि there is a time for everything, there is a season for everything. When it is there, enjoy it. Once it's over, you have lived it, forget it. But we defy that also. And in today's society, it has given rise to $1 billion industry. What am I talking about? I'm talking about sex toys for elders, artificial penises being used both by men and women. I'm talking about rubber dolls being used by perverted men to satisfy their disturbed needs. Somewhere we have lost out on what we should have been doing as children at the correct age, leading to all this. I urge you, when you go back, talk to people, educate them, tell them there is a time for a thing, do it at its time, enjoy it at a time, and when it is over, say thank you and make an exit. Life will be happy, earth will be paradise. If you live for 70 years, which is the average age according to world statistics, some people live more, some people live less. Life has an inner pattern. It is good to understand it. When you are born, for the first 7 years of your life, a child is totally self-centered. He feels, she feels, the sun rises for him, the moon comes for him, the seasons change for him. His parents and other attendants, relatives are at his beck and call. He feels like a king, he lives like a prince. Whatever he wants, he must have it at that time. Otherwise, he creates tantrums. He's totally absorbed and involved only with himself, nothing else around him. He's totally self-centered till the age of 7. He's very egoistic. मैंने कहा मुझे चाहिए, अभी चाहिए, खिलौना चाहिए तो अभी चाहिए. If it wants feed, it will cry and he wants it just at that time. Psychologists term this age as masturbatory, where you are satisfied with your own self and no other thing interests you. Next comes the age of 7 to 14 years. And what happens in this age? There you were self-centered. Here you become eccentric. Eccentric means going out of the center to the other. It doesn't mean mentally eccentric. The correct meaning is going out from your center to the other. And where do you go out? You go out to other people of your same age group. And generally, it is a tendency to go out to the same sex. You will see between the ages of 7 and 14, boys are interested in boys, they make friendship with them. Girls are interested in girls and they make friendship with them. If in this period, a girl tries to make friendship with a boy or vice versa, they term each other as tomboy, tom girl. You are not one part of us. This is the time you try to mix up in gangs. Psychologists term this age group as homosexual because you are interested in the same sex. Generally, if you grow up in nature's way and if you grow up correctly, this will be the characteristic of this age. Which is why, if you recollect and you talk to other people, friendships made in this age of 7 to 14 are the strongest and generally remain for life. You may have other friendships later on. Nothing can replace the friendship that you have made at this age. After this, a third door opens. We are talking about the age of 14 to 21. Now this is a revolutionary age. This is an age which our scriptures did not understand at that time and laid down brahmacharya. But this is an age which the Ghotuls have understood in Madhya Pradesh. This is the age Mizoram has understood to help people evolve into beautiful human beings. This is the age the West has partly understood, and therefore sex is not suppressed. They also used to have suppression of sex earlier on.
But it is not a taboo.
Yeah. This is the age when children will have wet dreams. You will have dreams of sex. You will fantasize about sex. You will masturbate. But because of these taboos laid down by society, these children tend to hide it. And we as elders think that our children are not interested in sex, they are angels or God's own different breed. Whereas the fact is something else. And because we suppress it at this age, when these children grow up, there is a gap between what was to be done and what is not done. Therefore, they live it at another time. They live it at a different age, a different years. And not only is it suppressed, it is denied. Which is why you find today, every newspaper you pick up, you will read somebody or the other has raped a woman. The most horrendous thing. somebody has molested somebody. A foreigner comes who's freewheeling, a tourist guide waylays and rapes her. People in their 60s and 70s, if you travel by trains, buses, stations, airports, you find them ogling at other girls and women. How horrendous. That is why there is a saying, ugly old man. The act is ugly. There was a time for doing it. This is not the time. I'm not saying don't have sex when you need it even, but the way you handle it, you don't have to ogle. And if you are ogling, somewhere you have missed out on life at some stage. And it is manifesting itself, is showing itself now. Old men touching young girls on the pretext of give me a hug. It happens. It's because this age of 14 to 21 was not handled, not lived in the proper way. Psychologists to this age group will term you as heterosexual. It's not that you will not interact with boys. Yes, you will interact, boys. Girls will interact with birds. But that is more at a different level. Here you are more interested towards the other. The male with the female and the female with the man. And that is nature's way. Don't defy it. Respect it. And help your children also respect it. You will see they will grow up as complete human beings. Complete human beings. Next comes the age of 21 to 28. What happens at this age? A person is more interested in ambition than in love. Career. It's not that love he has lost. No, love still remains there. But interests change. He is predominantly more interested in his career. In the three worldly things of power, prestige and money. He will dream of having big cars. You will see people of this age group talking, I want a Rolls Royce, I want a BMW, I want an Audi car, I want a big huge bungalow, I want to have a yacht, I want to always travel in planes, I want to always have foreign holidays. Ambition takes over. Love is still intact, but ambition takes over. And this is a natural process of growth. And imagine if you have not lived your childhood, if you have not lived 14 to 21, what you are supposed to do, you will carry forward here and then you will be neglecting where you should be in the marketplace, facing the world. The next age group is?
Person becomes more alert, understanding. All desires cannot be fulfilled.
Yes. At 21, you had a lot of desires. I want a plane, I want a gadi, I got a body, a bangla. And suddenly you realize, if you have led a normal life, that yes, it was a good dream to have, but everything cannot be had. And therefore he modifies it. Adventure is no longer there. From adventure you come down to security and comfort which you want. And how do you want security? You want a small home. Depending on how much money, you want some money. Safety, security and comfort become the predominant characteristics of this age group. No longer are you a hippie. It was all right before this age. Now you want to be more settled. No longer you will be bohemian. You want to lead a stable life. You no longer want to be a revolutionary. You want to be a conformist, traditional. And this carries on to the next group when you are 35 to 42. What happens is you suddenly realized in your 35 to 42 that if I am to live for 70 years, half my life has gone. You look back, what have I achieved? And you look forward, what has happened? So little. Yeah.
Orthodox study.
You become orthodox. Half your circle is complete. Now, like the moon rises to its full brightness, you are coming down and the light is coming less and less along with the phases of the moon. So also you. Your energy levels are coming down. The opportunities are lesser.
And you validate your story.
You validate your stories. What have you done?
Done.
Time is running out. This is the first age group which is a wake-up call for you.
Here.
You talk to any group of people, you will find in this age group 35 onwards, unless they carry forward some of their earlier characteristics. This is a shocker to them. They wake up. What have I done? What was I dreaming? Where have I reached? How will I get what I want? How will I progress in life? Half my life is gone. In fact, if you talk to youngsters, you ask them, they'll say 35-40 जी लिया, बहुत जी लिया, उसके बाद मैं जीतना नहीं चाहता हूँ. You talk to these youngsters of today, 14, 15, they say, I want to retire at 40. Why? And they get a wake-up call. They wanted to retire, but they can't retire. They have not achieved anything. You do not want any change, because whatever change you try to achieve is going to disturb your equilibrium. वो जो घर था, वो थोड़ा सा bank balance था, you may lose everything. So you become very, very traditional, very, very conformist, orthodox. And generally, a study was carried out. This is the age group in which most people go towards Adhyatma.
Spiritual.
Go
So
to-
far be a spiritual.
Go to spirituality, tend towards religion. You may have dabbled or heard or talked about it earlier. On YouTube, you may have read something to show that you are a bit above the rest. You may have read the Gita, the Bible, the Quran in the churches, but your interest was no longer there. This is the first time you will be interested in the Gita, in the Quran, in the Bible, in spirituality, in the Adhyatmic. What next? Because you have got a shock. So you are saying, what next is your question. Where have I come? Where will I go? What is the path to it? These are the questions which come up in your mind in this age. And since you have wisdom, this is the first time you can analyze them with initial wisdom, not greater wisdom. Greater wisdom comes a bit later.
Comes at the death's door.
Yes. What happens at 42? This is another shocker. 60% of your life has gone. Suddenly, you find my energies are declining. Death is now closer. Your hairs are getting grey. Your hairs are falling. If you could eat a robust meal earlier and drink your way to as much as you wanted on the name of social drinking or party, you suddenly find that your body does not accept it, and what happens? You go fat and fat and fat. And all the ideas which were planted in you by a toxic society about competition, about growth, about ambition, about progress, about achievements, start manifesting on you at this point of time in the form of blood pressure, ulcers. Ulcers are your footprints of ambition, heart attacks. diabetes, all sorts of diseases come in you. Why? Because you did not lead a healthy, happy, fulsome life earlier and were defying nature. That is why in Buddhism and in many places they say follow the middle path. The middle path is the best path. It's not of extremes, and it came out of Buddha's wisdom. Buddha, in search of enlightenment, had literally tortured himself to death without eating anything, and he was just a skeleton. When he realized that this is getting me nowhere, so he said, neither eat too much, neither eat too little. Eat enough. What is enough? Same way your life. Do just enough. Don't always aim for the stars. Look at your capacity. Yes, everything is achievable, but your body, your mind, your intellect, your circumstances must allow it. There's only one Mahatma Gandhi, there's only one Einstein, there's only one Bill Gates. They come once in 1,000 years. You can hold them as ideals, but if you strive to be them without the capacity, you are bound to suffer from all these things. So ultimately what happens? You realize that you have lived a lifestyle according to what you thought was right. And you realize suddenly it was not the correct thing to live. पीछे जो छोड़ा है, what is behind you, the years gone by. You think about it and then you look at the years that are to come. What is your age now? 49. How many more years to go?
Another 20.
20 years. How are you going to face death? You thought you had prepared yourself for your life, whereas you were not prepared for life, and suddenly you realize you are not even prepared for death. Both ways you are a sandwich hammered. Not prepared for life, not prepared for death. If I had my way, I would definitely start a school, a college, a university where in the first 20-22 years they would teach you apart from your academics how to live life, the art of beautiful living, happy living. And I would have a section for the elders where people of this age would come to attend and learn how to face death. It is a life and death are the same things of life, two sides of the coin. Death is the culmination of life. And if the life is lived well, the death will be beautiful. If it's not lived well, we will continuously be afraid and fearsome of death. This is another shocking year which comes to humanity because they have not lived well and they are not prepared for death. The knock is closer and louder on you. So you are searching for the meaning of life. Earlier, you were searching for means to live. Now, means to live, ambition, ghar, gaadi, bangla, house, bank balance. Those things had meaning earlier. Today, you have started searching what is the meaning of your life. Why have you come here? Where will you go? What will be your path to go there? What almost should you do? Which is why in our ancient belief system we had a beautiful system called Vanaprastha. At this age, you start looking towards the mountains, towards the jungles. Does not mean you go there. It just means you start looking towards spirituality and nature and leave the worldly things behind you. Vanaprastha does not mean you pack your baggages and go to the forest. No. Your thinking is towards beyond the mundane of today's life. And this is the age when men start losing their sexuality. This is the age when women enter menopause. You are no longer interested in the other sex. As a human being, you may be interested. But if you have allowed your life to grow with nature in the pattern that it is supposed to grow, a normal human being, a man, will lose interest in sex. He may still be sexually active. Please mark. Same way, a woman, this is the call bell when she reaches menopause. Ki you have had enough. You have enjoyed life, you have enjoyed sex, you have borne children. And now, if you continue to be it in as you were earlier, it is bound to adversely affect you. But human beings being what they are, society being what it is, they are planting wrong beliefs into our minds, where at this age also they say, science and society says be sexually active. Science says this is the best time when women can enjoy sex because they need not be afraid of childbirth. They will do anything to put you on the wrong path. Enjoy it, but don't be after it. You will find many people in this age group going for Viagras and whatever medicines you call them, going for prosthetic treatments. All these things are artificial, not necessary. There was a time to enjoy it, indulge in it, be with it. And there is a time to say thank you, goodbye, enough of it. There's a time to make an entry, there is a time to make an exit. If you remember this, life is going to be very happy, very comfortable. After 56, what happens? Closer. 7 to 10 years left. Life is ending. Energies are going down. This is the time you must come out of your social entanglements. And what are these social entanglements? I see in this age group people still holding on to membership of Lions Club and Lioness Club. It was good at a certain age, with all those ties, suit, boot going. At this age, there is something wrong. The sooner you come out of it, the more you can be with yourself. And to justify this, it is quite like a 4-year child playing with butterflies. It's very good. But when a 15-year-old boy or girl or 18-year-old boy or girl plays with butterflies, mentally deranged, he needs some treatment. Same thing. These clubs, these Lions clubs, Rotary clubs and this club and that club, they were
want
good.
to satisfy their ego.
It was good till a time. It's time to make an exit from this and concentrate and devote time to yourself rather than social entanglements. Remember, you made an entry in life. Now is the time to prepare for your exit. And the next 7 years are totally devoted to coming inwards, to your own self. Become self-centered again, like a child was when you were born. That time you were self-centered. This time you have to be self-centered totally with yourself. Antargyan, Antaryatma, Antardhyan. The inward journey is what you need to concentrate on. And if you have lived a life following this pattern, this is one time when you will be able to wait for death with a smile, accept death willingly in a celebratory manner, because you have done everything at its correct time. Some people ask me, what if I live beyond 70? Yes, very good. Carry this beyond 70. This last chapter of yours, carry it beyond 70. And if you have lived your life as per this pattern, as per this call of nature, it is guaranteed 100% that 9 months before you die, you will sense that yes, I am going to die, and you will be able to lay your death. Ki I am going away in February so and so year, or I am going away in October so and so years. If you have lived an incomplete and only partial life listening to these tenets, your ability to predict your death goes down. Why do these sannyasis, how can they predict? It's because they have lived to nature's calling. They have listened to it. This is the time for you to go back to the womb. You came out of the womb when you were born, and now you are going to the other home where your womb awaits it. Your time is to be spent, if you are religious, in temples, in mosques, in churches, in harmony with nature and with people. A church is there everywhere, it's not that structure. A temple is there everywhere, which is why in Indian temples, the center portion is known as a Garbha Grah. Womb. You are preparing yourself to go back to the womb which you came from. There was a beautiful Sufi saint, his name is Rumi, and he had said the most marvelous thing. He said, the day you are born, a ladder was set up for you to go from where you have come. The day you are born, death is a certainty. A ladder has been set up for you to go from where you have come. And between your coming and between your going back, these 70 plus years which you have, if you have lived like this, listening to nature's pattern, you will celebrate life, you will celebrate death. You have welcomed life with a smile, and you will make an exit with a smile. This is what I pray for you. This is what I say to you. Thank you so much.